Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast, where we focus on the journey, not the destination. Brought to you by the Baseball Blue Book app. Are you in the book? And now, your host, Eric Wobanaw. Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast. Eric Wobanaw here, president of the Baseball Blue Book. And today, very excited to have Jerry Oaks with us. Jerry comes from Elon University. He is the pitching coach. Jerry, how are you today?
Doing great, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. It's been a great day. We've had a number of coaches, and it's one I'm kind of excited about. You have a background at the University of Pittsburgh. A place that I'm pretty excited about. I actually have an MBA from University of Pittsburgh, so I'm pretty excited to talk to somebody that was there, but also talking to the pitching coach, and kind of your background. It's an interesting background, very exciting background, and I'm sure that the people listening will be excited to hear kind of your story and your journey to where you are today. So why don't we go ahead and start with just a quick introduction, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, Jerry Oaks, obviously, like you said, pitching coach here at Elon University. This will be my third year here. Came from the University of Pittsburgh, which I was there for 8 years, and then before Pittsburgh, was at Coastal Carolina for 4 years. So, been around a little bit, that's for sure. It's going on my 15th year now in coaching Division I, so I've been very lucky.
It goes quick, doesn't it?
It does, that's for sure. It's crazy.
When you say 15 out loud, you're like, holy crap.
It makes you feel old, doesn't it? No, it's been great.
That's great. Well, Jerry, I'm looking forward to kind of hearing your story, and we were touching on it a little bit before we started. Why don't you go ahead and start with kind of that beginning, high school career, travel ball, really focus on kind of the recruiting and what you went through, maybe with your family, of how you approached it.
Yeah, it's my journey is kind of unique, to be honest. I'm from Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philadelphia. Went to Archbishop Carroll High School, which is in Radnor, PA, right by Villanova. So the high schools that were in my area where I'm from, Monsignor Bonner and Upper Darby, was where I should have went. But obviously, for the academic reasons, my mom, looking back, was the best thing that's ever happened to me. At the time, Carroll, the academics were a little higher, so obviously wanted to get a better education, right? So, school was about 45 minutes away from where I was from. Took the train pretty much to school every day, which was not the greatest, but long days.
Yeah.
Had to catch the train around 6 a.m. and, as after practice and stuff, usually get home around 8 o'clock. And, it was it humbles you because where I'm from is not a great area, so walking home sometimes at night was tough, but looking back, it helped me in so many other ways, so it's, just like anything in life, you go through some tough times and it makes you who you are, and
Absolutely.
Looking back, I wouldn't change it for anything because, like I said, I was just very thankful for my path, but we came from a family that didn't have much, but came from a blue collar family that parents worked super hard, and we appreciate everything we had, so
Yep.
We were lucky, right? We never complained, but thankful for what we got, so like I said, went to Archbishop Carroll. To me, it was the best thing that happened to me. I was a big two-sport guy. I was a big hockey player.
Awesome.
Actually, probably a better hockey player than I was baseball, but kind of just knew baseball was my ticket. I was lucky. I had a lot of scholarships to do both. I had to make a decision, kind of last minute, what I thought was going to be my best road to have success with what sport I wanted to play, right?
Yeah.
So that was tough for me because hockey was always my number one love. But I was gifted obviously with baseball. So, like I said, 4 years there. I was a big two-way guy. I was an outfielder, so I was going to school to play both. I ended up signing at Coastal Carolina at a high school. Um, like I said, that was tough for me. Like I said, right, beyond blessed. Got a chance to have my name called in the draft and didn't know if it was going to happen, and then they told me I was actually supposed to go around. So it got real fast,
Yeah.
But going through it, you just were trying to figure out what's the best for me, right? We were always about education, and the whole time I said I was going to school. Throughout the whole
Right.
process, I just knew I needed school, maturity wise, but also physical. I was tall but a skinny kid, and then when time came, right, your name gets called, and I was fortunate enough to get a good signing bonus, the best bet for me at the time to sign. So like I said, very lucky. Signed with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Hmm.
Played 8 years of pro ball. I was fortunate enough to be in a couple big league camps. Being a high prospect my first 2 years, and believe it or not, I went through another thing that once again humbles you quick. I ended up getting the yips my third year of playing, which I don't wish that upon anybody,
Right.
So um, that kind of put a block in my career a little bit. But once again, one thing looking back, it made me beyond mentally tough.
Right.
It's one of those things you go through, and I was so fortunate. Right, I had a good arm. I was a big velocity guy, prospect, and you think, man, I'm going to be in the big leagues here pretty soon, and pitching on the big league side and having success during spring training, and then boom, right, you hit something that at the time, right, I had no idea what it at the time. I didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
and you go through it, and it's tough, right? It's tough just getting up in the morning, but like I said, got through that, and end up having, like I said, it was very right 8 years. I look back, and if you told me I was going to play 8 years of pro ball, I would have said you're crazy. So I look at the positive side and live the kid's dream, right?
Yep.
And along the way, it leads you down a road that I think for me in life, it taught me so much. Number one, how to be a father. I'm obviously have 5 children at home, and it made me strong enough to be to get my kids through when they go through some tough times, right?
Hmm.
But also it makes you right a better husband. And to me, it made me the coach I think I am today. So you never want to foul like that or struggle, right? To go
Right.
through some tough times, but I think it helps you. You look at it now, and when kids go through that, and now I can get calls from players when they're going through times and they're emotional wreck, and you can walk them through a road to help them to get success.
Yeah. You're basically you're basically a walking testimony of baseball, right? What baseball is a sport of failure, right? But it's the success that comes through that. We talked a little bit at the beginning about process and trusting the process. And it sounds like your life is kind of that trusting the process. It may be difficult while you're in it, but if you really trust the process at the end, it's made you a better person, right? I mean, without the failures, the successes aren't as sweet.
You're spot on. That's for sure. And it's funny. I talk to our pitching staff all the time about the process, and that we don't make excuses because that's right. That's life. I mean,
Yep.
no one's going to feel bad for us. No one's going to feel bad for me as a player on trucking, and good things will happen to those people. I mean, we all know the easy way is just to shut it down, right?
Right.
Um, so like I said, yeah, I played 8 years, and then it got to a point where it's okay. Maybe enough is enough, and I was at an age 26. This side was probably the toughest thing I ever did in my career. Is I always knew I wanted to coach. I love the game. I love everything about it, the competitive side. So I knew if I wanted to coach, though, I had to get a degree, with science school. So was so thankful. Gary Gilmore, who's still at Coastal, gave me an unbelievable opportunity to come back and coach, but also I went to school at the same time while I was coaching.
That's
So
great.
that was a grind, going and haven't been in school for basically 9 years. But I look back, and that was the most rewarding thing, honestly, that happened to me. People ask all the time, like getting my degree.
Right.
I think because of my path was more almost rewarding than getting drafted.
Absolutely.
So that was very proud of that for sure. And like I said, right, 4 years there, 8 at Pittsburgh, and now 3 here. And looking back, it's only thing I can say is just very thankful. I mean, to play pro ball and then be in the ACC and Coastal, one of the best programs in the country, now being at another,
Right.
one of the top mid majors in the country here at Elon, and surrounded around good people, and you enjoy every bit you can in this game, as you know. So
Jerry, I don't know why you don't have a book yet, because I'm telling you,
people
everything that you just said, I'm sitting here thinking of each question. We could talk about the trips on the train that would prepare you for your life, the getting drafted and not making it, getting the yips. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You're a testament of just, keeping the eye on the prize and what's the most important thing in your life. And you've talked about it. It's made you a better husband. It made you a better father. It's made you a better coach. All of these things that we go through in our life that at the time, I guarantee, Coach, you weren't thinking this is great that this is happening for me because it's going to make me a better person when I'm older.
I don't trust me. I don't wish I went through it, but like I said, you're great, right? You get what I'm saying. I wouldn't want going to school and taking 21 credits in the fall and and everything else, but
yeah,
you look back, like you said, now like it's a blessing. For me,
absolutely.
Nothing can phase me in life, if that makes sense.
Well, no, it's absolutely right. And you know what? Being a pitching coach, it's one of those things that the typical fan sits there, and I don't think they understand the pressure that some of these pitchers have, right? They literally are carrying the team on their shoulders. At every pitch, anything can happen, and the pressures that they have and the things that they have to overcome, it's pretty amazing. And you have to have something to go back to relate to, or to pull from. And I think, I just look at this. So your parents sent you to a school 45 minutes away, train every day, getting home late, waking up early. Obviously you were playing 2 sports at the time, right? In high school.
Yeah.
I want you to reflect on that a bit. Because to me, a lot of people are watching this. They're players. They're players that probably have life a little simpler than what you just talked about, right? Mom's driving them to practice. They've got 2 or 3. The only thing that they have to worry about is can they meet go to both of their travel teams at the same time. So talk about kind of what that was like, and what did it take for you just to kind of press through and make and do what you needed to do.
Yeah, right. It's easier said than done. It's funny. I talked to my wife about this. She asks me some things like, how did you do it and all that. But for me, I was lucky. I had parents that worked so hard. But right, I've always said you are kind of what you come from, right? Between those 4 walls at a home,
Yep.
and just my dad was a big military guy, and you just excuses. There were no such thing in our house,
Exactly.
You're going to put your head down and go and get the job done, and whatever it took to get the job done. So for me, I always had tunnel vision. It's funny. People, I think, misjudge me all the time now because I guess I can say I'm pretty much all business, if that makes sense. But I don't know if that makes sense too,
Yep.
Because right, it's like when you're climbing to the top of the mountain, someone's always behind you, and it's always to the next step. So for me, it was, it's what you want in life. I tell our kids all the time, when we wake up, we all have the same choices.
Right.
It's just, guess what? To get to where you want to get to and be the greatest, right? You got to work 10 times harder than the average person. So, I never looked at it like, man, this stinks. I got to drive 45 minutes and get home, and right, you're hardly even sleeping at it. It was, you know, like you said, at the end of the day, it was what the reward was going to be. So for me, I won, right? We won championships there in hockey and baseball, and
Yep.
getting drafted. So to me, right, I won more than anyone. Then they can go home early and go party and everything else that I can go do the rest of my life. So I always just looked at the prize at the end of the tunnel, if
Right.
that makes sense. I just knew what I wanted. I really did. All I wanted to do is play hockey and baseball.
Yeah.
So nothing was going to get in my way, and take pride in getting good grades, and everything else will take care of itself.
When you think about your career, over all of the things, and there's so much success, and there's also some challenges and struggles that you had, of all everything that you have in your baseball career. What do you think was the biggest success that you had?
I think for me is the biggest. I would say I gave everything I had.
Okay.
I showed up every day. Obviously they won championships, right? Those champagne showers, and that's you can't describe them. It's the best feeling in the world. I would say the relationships. I think any pro athlete will tell you the things you remember are the conversations in the locker rooms, or the stuff that happened to us in planes. But yeah, I would just say that I always respected the game. I think that's one thing I'm proud of. Is I think I was just very thankful and humble that I got this opportunity, and the
Yeah.
game treated me right, and I'm going to treat it right back.
That's good. I've heard you say multiple times that you're blessed. That's certainly the statement of someone that's humbled, or has a humbled background that understands that you have to work hard for whatever you get. You also said, I always worked hard at everything that I did. I think that's, to me, if I was taking anything from this podcast, was what your success in your life is, that you always worked hard at everything that you did. I think that's awesome. That's going to be one of our quotes. Just so you know, Jerry, that it wasn't a particular time, it wasn't a particular event. It was something that you had to do and made a decision to do every single day of your life. And I think that's, to me, that's hard to teach. So to flip that question over to you, how do you, if you could teach that, how do you do that? Or is it more important to find the kids that have already had that, and then take what they've got and kind of mold them into what they can be?
Yeah, I think it starts in the recruiting process, right? For me, is to really see what type of kid am I really getting, right? It's easy for a recruit to say, "Yeah, coach, I work hard. I do that." That's the easy part,
Right.
But I think you can teach it in some ways. I truly believe it. If there's one thing I would say, if our pitchers would say, what's the culture like as a pitching staff here at Elon, I would think that they would say they compete. That they're just. I try to put them in situations where they're just ultimate, and it'll weed some guys out. But believe it or not, even the guys that maybe can't handle that, it makes them better in so many different areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's just taking pride. It's just taking pride in what you do to be the best. I always get it like, this is so hard, right? When a kid commits, I tell them, like, this isn't easy. You know what I mean? This is only going to get harder. So if it's going to be hard, like, let's have some reward, right? At the end of it. Like, why put all this blood, tears into it?
Yeah.
If we're going to go through something at 50%, So
Great point. Yep.
I want them to leave and just take pride in everything that they do. I tell them all the time, right? Number one, we're representing a university,
Right.
But number two, you're representing a name on the back, and I hope they would want to have pride in representing their families the right way.
God, there's just so much to talk about here. What is the easiest part about being a college baseball player?
I don't know if there's an easy part, to be honest with you, right? They're doing something they love.
Okay.
To me, I think that's easy.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
right?
No, that's perfect. And what
playing a game they love.
yeah, I couldn't have said it better. What's the hardest part of being a baseball player?
Just a daily grind, right? Going to class. I mean, our kids from 8 a.m. to really 8 p.m. They're on
Yeah.
the go. I mean, that's right. You got to be mentally tough to get through it, and then to have success.
I think that I think people have a misunderstanding of the life of a baseball player. I think that because they think that they love it, they don't realize that it is a full. It's not just a full-time job. It's a life. It's a life choice from when you wake up to when you go to bed, and even then, it's not guaranteed success.
For sure. Yeah, it's you're either all in or you're all out. To be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. It's you don't hit it. It's a full time job for sure.
You know what? I always talk, and anybody that's listening, they understand what I keep saying. I always relate, I always can compare baseball players to a business that focuses on sales, because it's the same thing. It's about process. It's about failure. And the more failure you have, the more the more rewarding the success is. And it's always funny because if it's success comes easy, you take it for granted and then it goes away very quickly. If it comes hard and you stick with the process and it's a daily grind, then the successes are that much sweeter.
For sure. You said it perfectly. There's nothing to say to that. That's for sure. Right?
It is. It's crazy. That's why I love talking to coaches about this, because hey, I'm running a business, and there's the parallels are unbelievable in what you do, because it's when you wake up. You had said it. You wake up. You know what you've got to do. You don't complain about it. You don't. There isn't anything to complain about, because you're at the end of the day you're doing what you love. But it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And I think there's where people that really understand or don't understand baseball, that's where they get lost. And I think that's the weeding out of these people. If it's not hard and you love it, then it may not be for you.
Exactly. For sure. It's crazy. Like I said, I got 5 kids at home, and some of the stuff they do now at the younger age, they get a medal just for like showing up, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's not teaching them anything, but I think we get a whole nother story. I think that's what we struggle with this day and age, where
Yep.
they think they're supposed to get a trophy for just playing, when it's not teaching anything for life. What I mean?
It's not. So now that you're with Elon, what are some of the things that you're most excited about going into this next year? Kind of, you just wrapped up the season, fall ball's over. You're kind of at this dead zone. I know you guys are busy as can be, but it's kind of baseball shut down, and now it's administration, operations type things. What are you looking forward to for the next season?
Yeah, I mean, right, we're in individuals right now. This is always my favorite time of the year, because you're breaking down what each individual needs to work on. So I say this all the time. I think it makes or breaks kids. They think it falls over and it's shut down, and it's really not. I mean, it's crazy. I was just telling our pitchers this today. It's like we got a month, and we got to start throwing bullpens to get ready for the season. It's time flies, right?
Yep.
But honestly, in all my years doing this is one of my favorite teams I've been around. I mean, they make it fun to go to the park. And it's right, as a coach, you get excited waking up, on teams, right, where it's tough to go to the yard.
Yeah.
But it's a great group of kids. I mean, we have a lot of new guys this year. A lot of guys in the transfer portal that I think are going to help us tremendously. And honestly, I'm just excited to see these guys compete. They work hard, and you just want to see it when it matters now, right?
Yeah.
So now we're just kind of counting down the days, but in the meantime, right, we got a lot of work to do, and like I said, if this team can stay healthy, I think we can do some exciting things.
That's great. What's some advice for 16, 17-year-old guys that are pitching? What are some things that you could give as advice to either going into college or just their daily routines? Anything that you might have to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Look, I wish I would have done it right. I think as a pitcher, like you kind of just said, your routines can make or break you in so many ways. Your throwing routine, right? Your lifting routine, your academic routines, daily sleeping and eating routines. I think the kids that understand that at a young age, they're going to have success and success for a while. As you know, it's not their fault. I think a lot of times kids don't understand what they're about to,
Yeah.
and that's why you see all the time in any sport, right? Why it's tough for that freshman to get a lot of playing time or have success as a freshman because once they get on campus, that grind can take a toll on you, and it's not their fault.
Right.
I think if they prepare now, right, in sophomore, junior, and high school, you're going to be that far along, because even talking to some recruits, they'll say, Coach, I threw in a game on Friday, and then, I said, okay, well, what's your routine leading up? And they almost think like, what do you mean? And they don't pick up a ball up till Monday or Tuesday, and you're like, oh, this isn't good,
Right.
So just, and honestly for their own health, especially as a pitcher, when to shut down and how long to shut down for, and, not just throwing a bullpen to throw a bullpen, to have intent and rhyme and reason and purpose behind it, is only going to prolong their career to have success at a young age and also hopefully for a long period of time. So that was my biggest thing. And honestly, it might not seem like a big deal, but, to get in the weight room, but also get in the weight room the right way. Pitchers, everybody wants to get bigger and stronger, but I've seen some kids more on the pitching side get bigger and stronger and they go backwards, because now they're stiff and
Yep.
the whole 9 yards. So just being smart. But like I said, you got to, if this is something you want to do, kind of like we talked about, there's no secret. The social side of it and everything else has to get put on hold.
Yep.
If you really want to be able to play at a high level like this.
Is there anybody that you would recommend for players from a pitching perspective that they might, because you talk about routine and you talk about kind of putting the social side to the side and really focus on this. These kids, they may or may not have a good high school coach that can kind of guide them, or maybe even their travel team isn't necessarily doing what's right. That from your perspective, what is there some references or resources that might be something that would be valuable to these kids?
Yeah, I think you just got to do your homework, right? I mean, if I was a parent and, hopefully my kids have that opportunity, I'm going to call as many people as I can to see if I hear the same names. And, right, usually that means it's a good sign, right? Because I think the other side of it is I see this all the time where kids go backwards because they go to this coach this time of the year, this coach that time of the year. Next thing you know, there are 4 different coaches, 4 different voices, and that's not healthy, right? They need to understand who they are first.
Yep.
Because what worked for, Max Scherzer doesn't mean it's going to work for Yanni Thompson. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
And I think that's where kids go wrong because now, especially nowadays, there's so much stuff on social media, and they think because this person's doing that I got to do it this way. That's not it, And I think that's where so many guys go off the wrong path. It's about knowing who you are, and then getting to a routine and that routine, you fix it a little bit, right? Because it didn't work or did work and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's just really knowing who you are and sticking what's going to work best for you, not everybody else.
Yeah, that's and not against you, but that's easier said than done again, right? It's sure. 16, 17, 15, 16, 17-year-old guys, very difficult for them to know who they are. And I think that it really is important, though, that if you're going to be focused on something, you better understand who you are. You better understand your body. You better understand what you need, what your challenges are, and what your weaknesses are is the most important thing, I think, to be able to understand. Quick side question: you're a father of 5, but you're also a coach at one of the premier programs in the country. You've done some amazing things. How do you allow your kids to make their own decisions without you kind of there helping them out? Because I mean, Any other kid, if I was your neighbor, I'd be jealous because the dad over next door has got all the resources, all the skills, everything. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I try to just lay the groundwork, right? You know, I'm the dad that is in left field. You won't see me, you know. I kind of just let them be
Yeah,
kids, you know. And but they say, "Hey, Dad, can we go practice?" We're going to go practice for 3 hours. And when I know they're fully engaged,
that's good.
then we're going to be all in, you know. But I'm not the dad to force them. Number one, I want them to be kids. I want them to enjoy being a kid.
Yeah,
Number two, right, I don't want to be that dad that burns them out at 14 years old.
right.
If it's something they love, then we're going to go all in, you know. And just the biggest thing I tell our kids, my daughter, she's got a championship tonight, and you know, she calls me. I just tell her have fun and play hard, you know. And I think if you do those two things, good things are going to happen, right? The skill stuff, of course, we all know, but
Yep.
they know they'll never have a problem with dad if they don't compete. If they don't play hard and get in the car, then dad's probably going to be a little upset with them. You know what I mean? But more than anything, I'm just trying to raise them to be good kids, you know,
I
and where this takes it, it'll take us there.
And that is so true. I mean, I think what I'm going to take out of that comment was I'm just letting them be kids. I think it's something that's missing. You know, there's so much pressure. There's so much force. I always say there's too many parents vicariously living through their kids. They always thought they were going to make it, so therefore their kid's going to make it. And by God, they're going to go to every travel club and showcase and everything they possibly could because they never had that opportunity. And it's like, be careful, be careful. Hey, so as a pitching coach, there's and I've heard your name across the board. What is some advice that you would give to some young coaches that are coming up that would love to be where you're at?
Number one, right? Keep working hard. Don't try to be somebody you're not.
It's
I'll
good.
give you an example. I think some coaches, you know, they'll go to this convention or that convention, or because this pitching coach is in the ACC or SEC, that doesn't mean it's going to work for your programs. I think you need to really know your guys. You know, I think just as a young coach to have that communication at what works for this specific individual, you know, that's going to make your program successful, not just because this school does it. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and just know who you guys are. You know, are you a team that has velocity? Are you a team that has guys that has all speed? Are you you know what I mean? Just a team that has a little bit of both. You know, and build off of that. You
Yep.
know, that I think as a young coach looking back, team as mentally tough as they can, and good things will happen. To be honest, you know,
I think that's good.
just push them and love them, and when they know that you're all in there with them, then good things are going to
That's
happen.
good.
You know, because I'll be honest, don't be a pitching coach because no matter what happens, it's always the pitching coach's fault. You know, but right,
But it's also you probably you're right. The pitching coach isn't the one that gets praised when you win. It's only the one when you lose. It's your fault.
yep, yep.
You know what though, Jared, Coach, this has been really good. I've heard kind of a common theme, right? It's you work hard, work as hard as you can. You always gotta you gotta know who you are so that you can understand and know who your team is. And I think that's what I've heard in that last statement, right? You got to understand who your team is, but before you know that, you need to know who you are. It's kind of that process from the very beginning all the way through. You got to believe in who you are, believe in the process, believe in where your destination is, and just continue to drive and work hard every single day. And even when you don't want to, I mean, there's days I guarantee you woke up and you didn't want to do it, but you did it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
And you always gotta learn.
yeah,
I will say that you know you have to change as a coach each year. I've been around some coaches, you know, when I'm out on the road and this and that, and they do the same thing they've done for a long period of time, you know, and you can kind of get stuck in your ways, and you have to right? You got different players, you know, different personalities, and you got to grow and find, like I said, what works for them, and that's clearly what's going to work for you as a.
That's awesome. So, Coach, opportunity just to kind of do, I haven't asked this for a while, but any shout outs, any coaches, anybody in your life over the last 15, 20 years that really had an impact in you and you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest guy, honestly, is probably Drew Thomas. We were together at Coastal Carolina. He's with the Milwaukee Brewers now. And obviously, right, Gary Gilmore, who gave me the opportunity to start my career. Every coach that I've been around between, Joe Giordano, Mike Bell, and now Mike Kennedy, right? They've given me opportunities.
Yeah.
So in this and right in life, that's all you can ask for. And I've been around so many coaches. I mean, like I said, the coaching staff here is phenomenal, and all of the coaches where I came from. So been very lucky. But Drew is he's like a brother to me.
That's awesome.
And, special place in my heart. He kind of took me on his wing, and I wouldn't be where I'm at now without him. So
that's great. So do a little promo for Elon and your program and the university and what makes it so special.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal place. Anybody that has been here will tell you, right? It's one of the most beautiful campuses in the country every year.
Yep.
Right, we're obviously right outside of Raleigh, about 45 minutes from Raleigh, about 20 minutes from Greensboro. Where I always tell everyone when we're kind of in like baseball heaven, within an hour you have some of the best teams in the country. So that's why our schedule is always one of the toughest in the country. But just a phenomenal place. Honestly, it's crazy. I told my wife this, like, you can't really find a negative. Obviously, it's a world-class education for our kids, so they're winning, which is the most important thing. Right?
Yep.
To open up so many doors for their career. And obviously, right, both the baseball program's had so much success. I mean, you can look it up and see how much success this place has had, and I think it's only going to continue. I'm very lucky. They put a bunch of money into baseball the last year, and just build a brand new indoor facility upgrades that are going to help our program grow even more. But it's obviously a program that's developed numerous draft picks. I mean, now the guy that comes to mind is George Kirby with the Seattle Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
Having a ton of success as a rookie this past year, and it's one thing I will say. It's like a family here, which is pretty cool. It's not just
that's great.
Right, we all want to win, but it's a tight group, and that starts with our head guy and Coach Kennedy, and it's a place where, like I said, and I should say, it's warm weather, so. There's nothing not to like, You
are in an amazing place. I mean, the Research Triangle Park's down there, a big organization. So you're kind of the blue collar kid coming down into the white collar area, the high class area, and you're bringing some discipline to that area, I'm sure.
Yeah, it really is. It's a great place.
Yeah, it's a good place. So, Coach Oaks, it's been a privilege to talk with you tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. And we're looking forward to kind of following your career and Elon University this next year. And thank you very much.
Can't thank you enough for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Appreciate it.